Welcome to a conversation among brothers. Interviews with inspirational black men living their dreams and making history.
Good evening, and welcome to A Conversation Among Brothers, a series of interviews with inspirational Black men living their dreams and making history. Tonight, I have the honor to converse with a Sigma man whose path towards his dreams positioned him to make history this fall. I'm also joined by two young men, Brother Matthew Swalett, education major at the University of Illinois at Chicago, and our National Collegiate Member at Large, and Brother Fred Bell, immediate past second International Vice President, currently a recent graduate of Tulane University, and preparing himself to ultimately go to law school. I'm very excited to have as our first guest, Brother Victor Glover. Brother Victor Glover is an astronaut selected in 2013 while serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. He is currently training for Crew 1, the first post-certification mission of SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft, the second crewed flight for that vehicle, and a long-duration mission aboard the International Space Station. Brother Glover and his crewmates are working closely with SpaceX to develop their new spacecraft systems, which will provide round-trip crew transportation services to the International Space Station. Along with Boeing Starliner, return the ability to launch humans into space from the United States soil. Brother Glover was born in Pomona, California. He graduated from Ontario High School, Ontario, California in 1994. He earned his Bachelor of Science in General Engineering from California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo in 1999. A Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering, Air University, Edwards Air Force Base, California in 2007. A Master of Science in Systems Engineering, Naval Postgraduate School in 2009, and a Master of Military Operational Art and Science, Air University, Montgomery, Alabama in 2010. Brother Glover's honors and awards include Distinguished Graduate and Regimental Commander, U.S. Navy Officer Candidate School, Anazuku Prop Washington Award, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Distinguished Graduate, Air Command and Staff College, and he was named one of Jet Magazine's inaugural 40 Under 40 in 2013. His military decorations include a Navy Commendation Medal and 2 Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medals. Brother Glover is a proud life member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Incorporated. Outside of the fraternity, he's a member of the Dean's Advisory Council for the College of Engineering at Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, the Society of Experimental Test Pilots, the National Society of Black Engineers, a member of the International Council of Systems Engineering, and a life member of Tailhook Association. Brother Glover is a proud married man to Deanna Glover, and together they have 4 beautiful children. You know, as a brotherhood of conscious men actively serving our communities, Sigma Brothers are expected to advocate for our people, challenge processes, and be agents of change, working collaboratively, to solve societal injustices. In our 106-year history, we've produced thought leaders, political activists, scientists, lawyers, veterans, law enforcement officers, educators, corporate executives, entertainers, husbands, and fathers. Men who have left their mark publicly and privately in the United States and across the world. Brother Glover, in my experience, the men who tend to join Sigma have a disposition towards culture for service and service for humanity. I also know that the fraternity has enhanced the talents and skills of brothers who incorporate our rituals, teachings, and precepts while seeking mentorship and guidance from experienced brothers. And to that end, Brother Glover, I'd like for you to share, if you don't mind, how has Phi Beta Sigma helped shape you personally and professionally?
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Brother President. I appreciate that introduction, and congratulations to Brother Bell and Brother Swalik. It is an honor to meet you, and continue to put your best foot forward. Godspeed to all of you. Thank you to everybody who's joined this evening. It is an honor to speak to you, my brothers all across the world. And it is good to see so many of us engaged in helping to move forward in every aspect. So I've got a lot of stories I would love to tell you, and you know, Phi Beta Sigma has been there since the beginning of my introduction to the blue and white in 1996. I became a member in 1999, but I was working with the members of my chapter at Cal Poly, Omicron Pi, since 1996, and you know, in that time, I gained an appreciation for what culture for service and service for humanity means. And I would say that, you know, one area where you can see that impact is I chose to leave Cal Poly and to go off and to serve my country as my profession. And it's the only job that I've had since I graduated from university. So that's one area where, you know, you can just see an indelible mark from Phi Beta Sigma into my professional career, as that arc has been, you know, defined by service. And so, you know, working with my chapter there at Cal Poly in executing our programs directed by the region and the national headquarters, to becoming a graduate member, helping to charter a graduate chapter in Southern California, and working with the brothers in Japan. I was the state director for a brief time when I was deployed to Japan. And so, you know, Phi Beta Sigma has been right there with me. I didn't just put this here today for this interview. You know, my letters are with me everywhere I go, in my heart, and very much a part of my life. So I'd love to tell you some more stories in detail, but I know we have a schedule to stick to, and I'll just say this. I think this line to myself often. I still try very hard to live my life to show myself worthy of membership in Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. That phrase runs through my mind constantly. That, and that I'm still doing my best to make my mother and my father proud. And so those words will always be rattling in the back of my mind to make sure that I'm doing my best to represent.
Well, I just got to believe your parents are extremely proud of you. I love that story. What a great example of setting the table for being a conscious husband, a conscious father. When you think about the impact you've had as a leader within your community, a leader in your profession, but more importantly, a leader within the fraternity, having served as a state director. Look, we got an astronaut who has served as a state director for the fraternity. How awesome is that, right? I mean, what a great example. But as I said earlier, I've got two exceptional collegians, our young brothers here with me this evening, who certainly are looking to learn from your story, hopefully have a level of inspiration that as they begin to track their lives. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brother Swalik, who will ask you a question. Brother Swalik.
Thank you for that, Brother President. And once again, Brother Glover, it's truly an honor to be able to interview. My question for you, Brother Glover, when we see that you have become a dedicated professional and a dedicated father, it is truly an inspiration to us all. And oftentimes we really don't get to see the work that it took to get there. So if you could you share with us your story on how you got there?
Well, you know, with any profession, you have to put in your time. There is no secret to that. You cannot fast forward that process. It is time. And so personally and professionally, they have both taken time. You know, my wife and I have been married for almost 18 years, and it is required work, just like my profession has required work. And so I would say, you know, you have to just be willing to learn. Something that I always try to encourage young people to do when I have the honor to speak to folks is to be a lifelong learner. And in my profession, I learn every day. I mean, today I just got off of meetings learning about our rocket that we're going to fly to low Earth orbit to the space station, and I'm learning every day. And in my relationship with my wife, I've continued to learn as being a father to 4 daughters. I have 4 daughters, one who's a senior in high school. I've got 3 high schoolers and a middle schooler, and they teach me more about leadership and humility than I learned in my 22 years serving in the Navy. So it's really just committing to being a lifelong learner. And I will say this, there's this term out there called work-life balance, or you may have heard some variation of that phrase. And let me say this, there have been times where I fell very heavy on the professional side, and I was not giving my personal life and my family the right amount of my energy and attention. And there have been times when I have gone hard the other way and put more emphasis and attention on my family and let my professional responsibilities slip. And listen, all of us should at all times be adjusting to try to find that balance, but I don't think that balance exists. And if it does, it's not stagnant, it is dynamic. It will change throughout your life. And so one, you have to know you will never nail it. No one will ever get it perfect, but it's about balance. Can you find balance? And when you see that something needs attention, do you have the resources? Do you have the support to shift your attention and your focus as it's required? That is very challenging to do, but it is definitely something we should all work toward. And knowing that you're never going to get it perfect gives us a little bit of, we can give ourselves a little bit of grace and not be so hard on ourselves. But no matter what you're doing in your personal and professional life, it is a grind, and you have to put in the time to develop that reputation and those relationships.
Thank you very much for that, Brother Glover.
One of the things that I try to do, Brother Glover, as international president, is just remind our collegians, what should your priorities be? And we'd like to believe our first priority as students, we need to get our education, we need to graduate, and then we need to prepare ourselves. And you gave great dynamic around that work-life balance that reinforces it.
Greetings, my Sigma brothers. I'm Brother Keith Perrin, co-founder and CEO of FUBU Radio. I am excited to serve our beloved fraternity as an honorary co-chairman for Conclave 2021. Join me August 3rd through the 8th, 2021 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The Conclave planning team is working to bring you the most exciting conference in Phi Beta Sigma history. We are encouraging brothers to register for what will be an amazing experience filled with leadership development, cultural enrichment, and fun in the sun. Most importantly, we will fellowship as brothers while conducting the business of Sigma. I will be there to welcome you, and I look forward to meeting you.
If you don't mind, just a little bit of flexibility before we go to our second question. One of our collegians had some technical difficulties, so I want to introduce him. He's had an opportunity to join us. Brother Joseph Rutherford. He's a junior computer engineering major at Mississippi State University, but he also serves as the Southern Region Collegiate Member at Large. So Brother Rutherford, glad to have you with us as well. At this time, we'll get our question from Brother Frederick Bell. Brother Bell?
Yes, good evening, Brother President and Brother Glover. It's an honor to be here with you, and as well as all the participants who are on this evening. You know, you're on the verge of realizing your dreams and going on your first NASA space mission. Sort of, give us an account of, what it took for you to get to this point, and when you realized that being an astronaut was one of your professional goals.
Yeah, great questions, and I would happily walk you through that. I'm actually going to start at the end of that and talk about the realization of that dream, and then a little bit of the process to getting there. When I was a kid, I saw a shuttle launch on television, a space shuttle launch, and I didn't know anyone who flew or had any technical background. My mom was a bookkeeper, an accountant for Boeing back in the McDonnell Douglas days. And so that was as close as I got to anything technical, but didn't know much about the aerospace industry. But I saw that on TV, and it was so impactful, and it impacted so many of my friends. I thought, wow, I would love to drive that thing. And that's what planted the seed. And I didn't even know enough to say I want to fly or work in space. I just thought I want to drive that thing. And so that was the beginning. That planted the seed. I went to college and I would play sports at the university level. And that probably was the next thing that just reoriented my thinking about what I wanted to do professionally. I really value my technical education and what I learned in the laboratory and in those engineering classes. But what I learned on the football field and the mat was just as impactful on me. And I wanted to be a part of high performing smaller teams that just were, whatever the challenge was, we were coming up with solutions. And so that would lead me to wind up throwing my hat in the ring to become a naval officer. And I would eventually have the honor of learning to fly. And being a pilot, I decided I wanted to keep that technical edge, and I went to test pilot school. And I was in test pilot school, and I got to go to a convention, and one of the keynote speakers was Pam Melroy, a retired Air Force Colonel Pam Melroy. She was one of the few female space shuttle commanders that we've had at NASA, and her story of their mission to the space station and their technical endeavors was amazing, but it was the way she spoke about her colleagues. The respect she had for her team is what really made me think, okay, now as a professional, that childhood dream has grown up into this professional pursuit, and I want to throw my hat in the ring. So I applied, got no response. I didn't have a master's degree at the time. I finished test pilot school. I finished a test tour, got some experience as a test pilot and project officer. I went to graduate school once or 3 times, got some graduate education under my belt and some more life experience. And then I applied again, and in 2013, it all worked out. And so that's kind of the 2-phase part of that. It was a childhood dream, but it's when it became a professional pursuit. Both of the sides of that coin are what made it a possibility and eventually a reality. You know, being able to be about a month out from launching on my first mission and flying a spacecraft made in California from American soil, which we haven't done in almost a decade until this past summer. It is really amazing and an honor. And I don't have words for it. And, you know, if you know me, you know that's saying a lot, because I usually have a lot to say, but it is just an honor and a privilege. And like I said earlier, I constantly am thinking to myself, you know, am I living my life to show myself worthy of all of these things, all of the rewards and blessings that I receive from people? And so I'm just doing my best to make sure that we are worth it, that this mission is worth it, and that my role in it is worth it. And so it is an amazing opportunity, but it is also a humbling privilege and responsibility that, you know, I want to go up there and represent all of you to the best of my ability. Good question. Thank you.
Actually,
thank you.
And actually, our follow-up question is going to come from Brother Bell as well. So go ahead, Fred.
You know, as a brotherhood of conscious men actively serving our communities, you know, we're expected to uplift our communities in our various walks of life. And we know that you have a history with service and are always looking for new ways to serve. So how do you balance the extraordinary work that you do with the extraordinary service that is, you know, you feel compelled to do as well?
Wow, you know, I think we could have a summit on this and talk about this all day or over a weekend. This is such a rich topic, I think, especially in these times that we find ourselves in. And I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna take a little bit of license, you know, as a 44, almost 45-year-old man. I'm gonna take a little poetic license here and kind of go a different way. And I'm gonna just tell you a short story. Being an astronaut is not an entry-level position. And so when you have to go out and cut your teeth in some profession to get to this point, and then you come here and you kind of have to have some things together already, because this organization expects you to operate at a pretty high level when you show up. And so I say that because I've really found some great mentors, but also mentees, a lot of mentees since I've been here. And I had a young lady come to me, and I had a relationship as a mentor to her, and she would always bounce ideas off of me, going to graduate school, getting this job, moving to this NASA center. And so we had already had that relationship, and she was comfortable enough with me to tell me that she was going downtown Houston to participate in a Black Lives Matter march. And I said, oh, heck, all right, tell me a little bit more about it. She's actually like, well, I'm gonna videotape, we're gonna tear down a statue. And so I thought, well, what do I say next? And I just said this to her. I said, listen, I hope one day to see you in my position. And working for the government requires you to balance personal and professional constraints. And I said, and I think that the most impact you can have on our community of color is your success. The wake you leave by being successful is more powerful than any one thing we could ever say. I always love to go back to mathematics or physics. If you remember integrating, how to find the area under a curve, you're adding up a bunch of small things over a longer period of time. When you can add small things over a long period of time, that's where real change comes from. Whether it's academic, physical, or spiritual development, it's about small changes over a long period of time. And so if you can live a life of success defined by you, not by the world, but if you can measure up to your own standards of success, you have a much greater impact on your community. And so I wasn't really trying to talk her out of it, but I wanted her to consider the impact it could have on her employment. as the person filming it and posting it on social media, she could have lost her job at NASA and that future opportunity. And I will tell you that she decided not to go, even though she is very active in the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think it is, she graduated from college a year later, and now she's on her way to graduate school at Oxford. And I think when she comes back to NASA, NASA's going to hire her with open arms twice. And so I will say it again, like the work-life balance, it can be challenging to do. It is very challenging to maintain professional momentum, but also maintain personal credibility and authenticity in your community, and to try to be a force for change. And so for folks who are struggling to do that, no, it's not easy, but it's important, because we need folks that cover all facets of the movement of progress. Progress comes in many forms. And so we need folks that are inside the machine, outside the machine, and all of their inputs are valuable. I will leave you with this. I have a brother, my brother-in-law, my wife's sister's husband, who is very, very much an activist. He had a few conversations with Colin Kaepernick that led to his protest, his kneeling as a sign of protest. And I was talking to my brother about that, and I said, our efforts are like fuel, like gasoline. If you just randomly spread it all over the place and put it with some heat, it can cause a fire that's destructive. But if you use it in small amounts, properly sequenced in the right timing with the right structure, like an engine, it can power change. But the same fuel can destroy or move us forward. And that's what we have to balance. You have to try. And again, just like the work-life balance, it's not easy, but it requires constant effort to find some kind of a balance between that personal and professional success. And so it's something that I work very hard at, and I don't think that I found the right balance, but I do consciously try to do my best in both arenas.
Thank you so much for that response, and we appreciate it. So I'll turn it back over to President Cristal.
Our final question from our collegian, I'll have the final question as we wrap up, but our final question from our collegian and our younger participants will come from Brother Rutherford. Brother Rutherford?
First off, I'm inspired by you, man. It's an amazing opportunity to be able to speak with you. I came in, wanted to do aerospace engineering, and unfortunately, Mississippi State has gotten away from that. And so now I'm doing the closest thing I can to do aerospace. So it is an amazing experience to be able to be here. But my question kind of ties into that work-life balance that you were talking about. And when you were speaking on priorities, people tend to keep family first because family is very important. Well, God first, and then family is up there because family is very important to them. And, in addition to your great career, you talked about your amazing and beautiful family. And so what recommendations could you give to up and coming professionals or, wannabe professionals to create like a better synergy between that family life and your professional career?
Well, that is a great question, Brother Rutherford, and it is an honor to speak with you, and I truly mean that. And I'm going to answer your question, but first I just want to say, the three of you collegiate brothers that I've been able to interact with here tonight, it is an honor to talk to you all because you're the future, and listening to what you're majoring in and your aspirations, and listening to you here in these great questions. The future is bright. It is in good hands. I have no concerns. And so the honor is truly mine. And again, we're in the same struggle trying to make, the world a better place. I really do believe that. The work-life balance thing, I think is kind of a myth, and it really causes some people to struggle. And so as long as you are conscious that you have the ability to focus and change your focus and adapt as the situation changes, if you're conscious and you communicate and you're focused on doing the right thing, I think that gives you the best starting point that you can have. If you don't even have a family, though, this may apply. So whether you have a family or a spouse or a really, serious girlfriend that's a keeper, or if you're just a single young man that is early on in your professional journey, here's some things that I think apply to you. And I can tend to be philosophical and Socratic, so I'm going to try to bring it here right down to earth and be really practical. Get a good night's sleep every night. Every time you don't get 8 hours of sleep, you are giving away 20% of your capability. What you walk around with is what you can do for the world. This is what you bring to the table. And so starting off with a good night's sleep is giving yourself the 100% capability to go out and do the most good that you can do. Get a good night's sleep. Drink more water. Drink water. It's a simple thing, but if you just displace half the soft drinks or coffee that we all drink, and yes, I'm sitting here with my coffee mug in the evening. I love coffee, but I also have my water bottle here too. If we drank more water, some of those health problems that are systemic in our community would go away. They would simply go away. Exercise, physical fitness, especially now in this time of pandemic, it can help us manage stress. The obvious benefits are there of physical health, but it also helps you mentally. The connection between your mental health and your physical health, there's a lot more research coming out on those. And so trust me, physical activity is very, very important. And if you are doing those things to take care of yourself, whether you're a parent, a spouse, or a single person, you're living by example. And I'm going to go back when I say exercise, I'm not just talking about your body, mentally, physically, and spiritually. You know, taking some time to get in some vigorous exercise, taking some time to get into a book and read something or study something at detail, not at the Twitter or Snapchat level, but digging through some meat and wrestling with some ideas and some tough tension between concepts, and then getting out and serving others, finding something bigger than yourself, whether it's church or serving in your community, but finding something emotional or spiritual to connect yourself to can help you make it through times like these. And if you're doing those things, then you're embodying a good, healthy balance. What Dr. King talked about in his very first sermon that he preached, the 3 dimensions of life, the height of life, loving God, the breadth of life, serving others, and the length of life, being good to yourself, loving your brothers as yourself, requiring self-love. If you can work on those things, I don't care if you're in a technical or business or community service profession, or if you have kids or no kids, those things are going to help you personally and professionally, and they can help you at least know what levers that you can adjust in trying to find that work-life balance.
Awesome answer, as every answer you've given. Thank you so much for that insight.
Thank you, brothers.
Wow. Great question. Great answer. Brother Glover, as I think about my final question, and certainly as you answer this question, if you want to make some closing comments after your answer, feel free to do that, because after that, I'll make some closing comments and we'll wrap up. But you know, when you think about today, you think about all the aspirational as well as inspirational comments you just gave. The reality is, in a matter of weeks, you're going to take this launch. And you know, it's 2 things I really want to ask you. Number one, you know, what really excites you about this mission? And then number 2, you know, thinking about your fraternity and the greatness of it, but more importantly, the brotherhood component that's connected with it. You know, how can your brothers support you as you really go up within this mission and as you launch yourself into space, recognizing that we've provided some Sigma paraphernalia to you to take with you from Blue Culture Collection. But, you know, thinking about the mission and what excites you, but how can your brothers support you as you're taking on this awesome responsibility?
You know, it is, Brother President, that is a great question. And thank you for the opportunity to provide some closing words. And I just have to say up front, you have already supported me greater than I feel I deserve. So honestly, I'm concerned about how I can support you and our Sigma Beta clubs and our collegiate brothers. And if you tell me what I can do, I will gladly do my part, right? Our cause speeds on. I'm down to do the work. I hope that I can share this mission with you. I've provided resources and information and connected hopefully the right folks so that you guys can follow along with the mission. And if there is another way that I can help to share this to a greater extent, let me know, because I would love for that to be a possibility. And that is more than I deserve. So please let me know how I can do for you as well. What am I most excited about? There are so many things. If you ask me tomorrow, I could tell you a whole bunch of different. I've got a great crew. I'm a part of an amazing crew. Mike Hopkins, our commander, our mission specialist, Shannon Walker, and the Japanese Space Agency, Soichi Noguchi. I'm looking forward to being on the space station with them for 6 months, and our colleagues that are already up there, Kate Rubins and Sergey from the Russian Space Agency. It's just going to be a privilege. You know, one of my mentors is Charlie Bolden. He's a member of Omega Psi-Phi, but in this field, there are so few of us that we're still family. And Charlie, I was on the phone with Charlie, and he said something to me that has really been rattling around in my brain. He said, it's been 26 years since one of us sat in a pilot or commander seat of a spacecraft. And it was him.
Oh, wow.
And that really put me back on my heels. And it was an honor, but it was also a responsibility. I don't want to wait another 26 years. I want to do what I can to make sure that I am grooming my replacement. Mm. And so I'm excited because I have the opportunity to do so. And you know, this is such a unique and amazing opportunity to fly this spacecraft on its first operational mission and to live in space for half a year and to be able to share it with the world. And to know that Brothers of Sigma will be able to look up in the sky and see a light go by at night and know their brother is up there. And I tell you, the power of that to inspire young people is magical. It really is truly magical. And that is one of my favorite things. That's one of my favorite aspects about this job. And I hope that we together can work to inspire and encourage our young people. And so I just want to close with this. I just wanted to make a statement, and I probably should have said this earlier in my how did I get to this point, but I just want to share a little story. I kind of go through life and picture myself as this 16-year-old kid who was going to Ontario High School because this was such a pivotal time in my life. That's sort of my locked-in mental image of myself. Well, at 16, I was dealing with all the things that a young inner city kid is dealing with, but then also I was going to school and playing sports and doing okay at that and doing okay in the classroom, not great, but doing okay. And I knew because my mentors told me that I should go to college. I didn't know how. The only thing that I really thought confidently that I could do in college was play sports. I knew I could handle Division I sports, but I didn't know if I had what it took emotionally, intellectually, or academically. And I was taking a class, pre-calculus, and I was doing homework the night before, and I stumbled upon this. It was adding numbers in a series, adding up the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I noticed a pattern, and I love math. I've always loved math and puzzles and physics. And so I came up with a formula. I found if you took it and made the numbers into a rectangle, you could make a math problem that was repeatable. It was the number times the number plus 1 divided by 2, and that was the numbers. Add up the numbers from 1 to 10. It's 10 times 11 divided by 2, 55. It was amazing. So the next day in class, actually the 5 minutes before class, I went to my pre-calculus teacher's room, Mr. Robinson. I wrote up what I found on the board, drew my picture, and when he walked in and students were starting to come in, I said, Mr. Robinson, I figured out a formula. I mean, I had a name already. I was like, Pythagoras got the Pythagorean theorem. I've got the Victorian theorem right here. And he looked at me and he leaned in close to me, and I knew it was something bad coming. He says, you didn't look at the next page, did you? And he turned the page and that formula was in the book. And so, yeah, he could tell he took the wind out of my sails a little bit, but then he said something to me that changed my life. He was still in close to me. He said, but you know what, Victor? That's pretty impressive that you figured that out on your own. Why don't you teach that to your classmates? And I will tell you, for all of you out there that get to work with young people, for all of you that may work in education, and every single one of us has the ability to go out and to talk to the young folks in our community. So to all of you, your expectations, as high as they may be for these young people, may be the most important influence that you can have on them. Believing in them is powerful beyond even what we may understand. I have written to Mr. Robinson countless times to tell him the impact that he has had on my life because he believed in me. And I'm very grateful for that. It was the first time in high school that I thought, maybe I can handle this college thing. Maybe I can get a degree in engineering and do okay. And that's worked out okay. So I just wanted to tell you that story for a lot of reasons. That was me overcoming, I would say, what can be the greatest challenges in our lives, and those are the ones that come from ourselves. So I think it's important for our young folks to believe in themselves, to be gritty, to be lifelong learners, and to learn to be good teammates. And those three things, I think, will help you find success no matter what you do. So thank you again for this opportunity to talk to you, all of you brothers. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you very much.
You know, wow, Victor, I mean, just wow. You know, I use the phrase for our vision, a brotherhood of conscious men. When I think about everything you've talked about tonight, you have absolutely showcased brotherhood. You've celebrated these collegians here. You've inspired them. You provided serious nuggets that I'm very confident they will take with them. As I sit here and look at Brother Rutherford, and I'm thinking about Brother Swallet as well as Brother Bell, the first thing Brother Rutherford said is that it was an honor, because when I look at you, that's what I want to become. That's what I want to become. And I suspect when Brother Bell look at you, while he might not have a desire to be an astronaut, the success that you are radiating is what he wants to become. And I suspect when Brother Swallet looks at you and think about how you celebrate your family, think about the obstacles that you have had to overcome, and you're exemplifying excellence, I'm very confident he says, I want to be like you. And so when I think about a brotherhood of conscious men actively serving our communities, being a conscious husband, a conscious father, and being a conscious servant leader to their community, Brother Glover, you're reflecting that in a powerful way. And we're extremely proud of you. You know, there's something within our membership that kind of reminds us, you know, you think about the 12-inch rule, you think about the Sigma Creed, we think about all of those things of yesterday, but man, tonight you gave truth to every one of them. And we don't have to go far to embrace it. So I want to just say to you on behalf of the General Board, our international headquarters team, your fraternity brothers worldwide, we want to thank you for taking the time today to implant some serious nuggets and inspiration, not just to the brothers who are on this panel with us, but to everybody who's a part of this call. You know, our late Sigma brother and civil rights icon, the Honorable Brother John Lewis, he said, you must be prepared if you believe in something. If you believe in something, you have to go for it. Brother Glover, you have affirmed what the Honorable Brother Lewis believed, that you should act decisively on your convictions. You embody our high ideals of brotherhood, scholarship, and service. We certainly want to wish you good luck on your mission. May God bless you. May God bless your family. May God bless Crew One. But more importantly, Godspeed, Brother Glover.
Thank you, Brother President. God bless you and Godspeed. You all stay safe.
To everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. We look forward to you joining us on our next A Conversation Among Brothers. Thank you very much.